Doubting Thomas. So, are you a doubter or a believer? Or maybe there are both doubt and faith in your mind and mine, in your heart and mine, in your faith and in my faith. Indeed, there are actually two ways to look at Thomas. In Western Christianity, we refer to him as Thomas the Doubter. In Eastern and Orthodox churches, he's known as Thomas the Believer, and rightly so. There's no history, there's no long string of gospel stories showing Thomas doubting everything along the way. It's just not there. He was an apostle, one of the 12, close and faithful follower of Jesus. He was very much a believer before he doubted. And in the end, his doubt led him to even deeper belief. In the whole of the New Testament, Thomas is the only person to address Jesus with the words, "My Lord and my God." So what happened? What caused Thomas to doubt? Might it not have been the painful, inglorious death of Jesus, who was condemned and crucified as a common criminal? It wasn't supposed to end like this. It wasn't supposed to come to this. So the other disciples reporting that Jesus had risen was not enough to generate fresh faith and renewed hope in Thomas's heart. I suspect that when it comes to questions of faith, that many today who, like Thomas, have a long history of strong faith and belief, like Thomas, sometimes find themselves saying for one reason or another, it wasn't supposed to come to this. It wasn't supposed to end this way. Perhaps it's the death of a loved one, the death of someone very young, or someone you prayed for a long time. It wasn't supposed to come to this. It wasn't supposed to end this way. Perhaps it's the death of a dream, the failure of a good, solid plan, some dashed hope. It wasn't supposed to come to this. It wasn't supposed to end this way. Maybe it's the onset of unexpected illness or relapse after years of remission or losing one's hard-won sobriety. Wasn't supposed to come to this. Wasn't supposed to end this way. Maybe it's the breaking of a promise, a pledge made, a word given, a marriage entered. It wasn't supposed to come to this. It wasn't supposed to end this way. Or maybe it's whatever my words just now are stirring up in your mind and heart, in your experience, in your painful memories, something that makes you say, it wasn't supposed to come to this. It wasn't supposed to end this way. Thomas's stance that he would not believe without seeing and touching Jesus' wounds may have been as much an expression of disappointment and anger as it was a demand for tangible proof. And don't miss the fact that although Jesus offers his side for probing and his wounds for touching, there's no evidence in the gospel story that Thomas did indeed reach out and follow through. It doesn't tell us that. Rather, his first and immediate response, his confession of faith, his cry of belief is, "My Lord and my God." All he has to do is see the wounds in Jesus' hands. All he has to do is see the wound in his side. What Jesus helped Thomas to do was to confront those death-dealing wounds and that pierced side. Jesus invited Thomas to look at his loss and to accept his loss and to see that even if it wasn't supposed to have come to this, even if it wasn't supposed to have ended this way, there is indeed life again, even after death. So the scriptures prompt us to ask, what are the deaths, the losses, the hurts and the disappointments? What are the failed plans, the broken promises, the dashed hopes that cause us to question, that lead us to doubt, that sap and weaken our faith, yours and mine? When we wallow in our disappointment, stall in our losses, feed our anger, nurse our wounds, and persist in our doubt, what comes of that? If we stop believing, trusting, and hoping, what deeper loss might eventually be ours? Do we need to look into our own wounds, our own wounded hearts, pierced by what we thought would never come, in ways we thought would never be? And there in those losses, in those wounds, watch for, wait for, look for, and expect the presence of Jesus. Hear his voice calling us to believe and to trust in him again with a faith that is stronger even than death. As surely as Jesus came to that upper room to strengthen Thomas in his faith, so does Jesus come to each of us today, in this place, in this room, looking for each and every one of us to relieve us of our doubts, to strengthen our faith, even and especially in those times when it wasn't supposed to come to this, in those times when it wasn't supposed to end that way. Today at his altar, Jesus comes again and stands in our midst, inviting us to his table and offering us the gift of divine mercy and the grace to let go our doubts and once again to believe in him and the life he promises. Today, Jesus invites us not just to reach out and touch his wounded body, but even to receive his body and blood in the Eucharist, offered to all who believe in him and who say with Thomas, the believer, "My Lord and my God."